Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of the Great Millstone, and may peace be bestowed unto you elect. I'm your brother Yahweh Call from Great Millstone, Orlando, and just back with another edition of Chat with the Church. Just another spiritual rant. Just some Lord willing exhortation of upliftment. It seems like, as we're getting closer and closer, to the King, we feel that presence of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shaman. We feel the presence of Yahweh Shai, and it just seems like that's why it's hurting more and more, because the Lord is close. It's like being in a relationship with a long distance relationship, because it's one thing, you talk on the phone, you may even video chat with the significant other. But as the days wind down to y'all actually meeting, up until the very day, you get those feelings, get that anxiety, right? The butterflies and so on and so forth, and like I said, because basically we're in that long distance relationship with Yahweh Shai, and although he's with us in the spirit, but nevertheless we are about to be in his presence, Lord willing, we are of that number, and like the scriptures describe that time as the birth pains, because like I said, man, the King is he's on his way, man. The Heavenly Father is getting ready to send his only begotten Son to get us the hell out of hell. All right, and we ain't gotta wait too much longer, man. Because I know that feeling of brothers just being tapped out. Brothers are just so detached, demotivated, disenchanted. And if it wasn't for this truth, I know, brothers, man, we would have been done a long time ago, man. But the water Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, it's a spirit that's keeping us going. All right. I'm gonna grab this real quick in Isaiah. And it goes to show you the power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai, because, man, if it was up to us, we ain't got it. We don't have it at all. It's the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai that's keeping us going. And as the spirit has been on the head brothers of my camp here in Orlando about finding that joy, man. Yeah, brothers catching hell and whatever the case may be, but it's not the end all be all. This ain't the worst that it could be. The Lord didn't enact on us what we deserve. So count it all joy, take it cheerfully. Of course it's easier said than done. But find that joy, man, because, being too zoomed in, being too caught up in the cares of this life, the entanglements, that's exactly what it's going to do. If you allow it, it's going to entangle you, it's going to choke you up, choke you out, and we have to be more so zoomed out rather than zoomed in. So I'm going to grab this in Isaiah. And just bear with me as I look for this. Notice Isaiah Was that just bear with me. It mentions the Spirit of the Lord. Yeah, Isaiah 61, not 51. Isaiah 61 and 1. And, you know, the heading says, exaltation of the afflicted. So like I said, as I was saying, you know, as we're getting closer and closer to that time, and brothers are, you know, feeling the squeeze more and more, you know, it just seems like brothers more and more need this exhortation, need just a reminder, you know, that it's going to be all right. You know, everything's going to be all right. You know, we just hold on, hold fast, you know, hang on to the crown, you know, like it tells you in Revelation, because the crown has already been fronted to us. We just have to hold on to it. So in Isaiah 61 and 1, the Spirit of the Lord power is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. And only the elect are crying out. Only the elect are seeking to get set free from this hellhole. You know. But the point being, they mentioned that the Spirit of the Lord, and how the Spirit of the Lord is on us. Because brother's got a lot going on. You know, there's a lot of distractions going on. But like I said, more so rather zoomed out rather than zoomed in. You know, think bigger picture. In a sense, you got to already be in the spiritual realm, because again, going back to that joy in Yahweh Shai, you know, I mean, I can, you know, as far as what keeps me going, well, what keeps me at peace, you know, just being constantly in meditation, you know, constantly in the spiritual realm, you know, just constantly thinking about the kingdom. You know, that's why, you know, that's where our mind is at, you know. Pretty much our spirit is already in the kingdom, you know. Because like I said, brothers are so detached as it is, you know, and it's you know, when brothers are, when your head is in the clouds, man, you know, you don't want to be, you don't want to come down, you know, because of course we're here. You got to deal with whatever it is that you got to deal with. So when we're in those moments, and you're on cloud nine, as they say, you're in the spiritual realm. You know, you hate coming back down to this bitch, because that's where our minds got to be. You know, in the spiritual realm. You know, if that makes sense. Because like I said, man, spiritually, we're already in the spiritual realm, man. We're already in the kingdom. You know, that's why it's a matter of coming back down to earth, like they say. You know, grab this. I'm gonna grab this in Colossians 3 and 1, starting at 1. If ye then be risen with Hamashiach, seek those things which are above, where Hamashiach sitteth on the right hand of the Most High power. And where is Yahweh Shai at as of right now? He's in the spiritual realm with the Heavenly Father. It says, set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. So you see, man, where Yahweh Shai sitteth, where he's at right now, hey, that's where we got to be, spiritually speaking. You know, just constantly in that spiritual mode, you know. I'm constantly thinking about, because our imaginations can only go but so far, but brothers got very creative minds, so take it upon yourselves, man, and just take yourself to that place. I'm constantly thinking about how my palaces are going to be built with stones, you know the different stones that we don't even know about, and how our kingdom is just going to constantly be growing. you know um there's a lot of things, a lot of things to meditate on, and that should, that for me personally, that's one of many things that just, it keeps my hope alive. It just keeps me going through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. Because again, that's where our affection is at. That's why our desire is the most. Peace, that righteousness being established on earth as it is in heaven. Now as far as the things, because it mentions set your things, affection on the things in heaven and not on earth, right? Because again, the kingdom is going to be established here on earth. All right. The world was made to be inhabited, and it was made to be enjoyed. Now, of course, we can't enjoy the world right now. And you got to think, because even as bad of a condition that the world is in right now under Esau's management, there's still beauty throughout the world. In certain places. The earth, as much as decrepit as it is right now, the earth is still beautiful. And there's still beautiful parts in the earth, parts of the earth that haven't even been explored yet. So just imagine when in the kingdom, when the earth is going to get her youth back, she's going to be beautified, she's going to be able to yield her fruit. The earth is going to get her youth back. And like I said, man, just as far as me, just one of many things, that well, the many things of the many things that I think about concerning the kingdom. Like I said, man, how our palaces are going to be, built upon these different precious stones. Try to figure out what that's like. The vibration that's going to be coming off these stones. Just that perfect peace that Yahweh Shema Shai is going to bestow unto us. Seeing brothers in their stature, man, getting their stature back. And you sisters as well, You sisters often, complain a lot. You get depressed a lot, as you so-called age, because you don't age in this society, man. We don't age. We're decaying. Some of us are decaying faster than others. Because in this kingdom, you look forward to death. Everything's about death. But life is about to be restored. All right. And again, this word is what's keeping us going. This word is what revives us. This word is like a cold glass of water in the middle of the desert, man. This is what's keeping us going. And that's why we have to continue to meditate. Stay focused on the promises that Yahweh Shema Shai has got in store for us, man. Because all this is not gonna be for nothing, and that's another thing. For me personally, that keeps me going. The Lord has things in store for us. The Lord made promises. He came through on the curses. Hey, you best believe He's going to come through on the blessings. You best believe that the Lord came through on the curses and whooping our ass. But the Lord is getting ready to bestow unto us everlasting joy. And we don't know what that's like, because all we know is suffering on the side. Sometimes we have good days and sometimes we have bad days, right? That's why I'm going to read this in Psalm 84. and 10. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. So you see, because all of our so-called best days in this life and in all of our past lives combined, it's not going to compare to one day in the kingdom. You know, and that's hard to picture because, again, sometimes we have good days. Most days, you know, are rough days, you know. But the time is coming when everything is just going to get better and better and better. And what is that like? Again, because all we know is suffering, catching hell. Every now and then the Lord gives us a break, you know. The Lord is not unjust, you know. The Lord is balanced, you know. But even in those good days, those good times, you know, when we do catch a break, the Lord does throw us a bone, you know, still in the back of our mind, man. You know, got to go back to work. You know, we got to pay bills, whatever the case may be. You know, it's always something running on the back of your mind, you know, but the time is coming when, hey, you know, as I always say, from sign of grief to sign of relief, when that day comes and we're able to just drop our shoulder and just chill, you know, hit a brother up. Hey, brother, what you got going on? Oh, let me check my schedule. Oh, shit, I ain't got nothing to do. What's up, Ock? You know, brothers aren't going to be bound to time, you know. Brothers ain't going to be bound to time, man, you know. The length of days is going to be extended because right now the Lord is speeding days up right now so that we can get the hell up out of here, you know. And you know, of course, being in this, you know, it seems like an endless loophole. It's just, you know, the same shit over and over and over. Wake up, go to work, or in some cases like myself, you know, working these bullshit overnight jobs, you know, which there shouldn't be no such thing as a night shift, at least not for Israelites, you know. But it's just the same cycle over and over and over, and this shit is played out. This shit is old. Again, the earth was made to be inhabited. It was made to be enjoyed, you know. But it's like we're stuck in this loophole of just the same cycle over and over and over again. But brothers, that time's going to come when brothers aren't going to be bound to time, you know. So these are the things to look forward to, you know. And this, you know, again, like I read in Colossians, man, just, you know, you got to go there sometimes. And especially nowadays, it seems like, you know, you got to go there more often, you know. You got to take yourself there. Zoom out. And think bigger picture, you know. Is Psalm 84:10 again. For a day in thy courts is better than 1,000. I had rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my power than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. I'll read verse 11. For the Lord power is a sun and shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. And so you see, man, the Lord can't wait to give us all the goodly things. Like I did the video the other day. Because, you know, Jake is so used to getting an ass whooped. Jake is so used to being chastised. But you see, the beautiful thing about it is the Lord put us through this now, you know, within the first month of creation. You know, the Lord put us through this bullshit now. You know, because what's that? Roughly creation is roughly 2 weeks old, right? You know. So like I said, you know, within the first month, man, the Lord, he's putting us through this shit now, so that way, hey, we can enjoy eternity forever, man. Get all this shit out the way now so that we can enjoy eternity. Imagine that, because, you know, of course, we're in the moment and this shit sucks. But that's why the scriptures talk about how this suffering is but for a season, man. You know, a little season. Like I said, 2 weeks. within the first month. You know, it seems like forever for us, but man, this ain't nothing to the Lord. Again, the Lord is not bound to time. The Lord lives outside of time. He creates time. So it seems like forever for us, but within the first month, the Lord is you know, getting all this shit out the way so that we can enjoy eternity. You know, how about that, man? You know, they say you can't make this shit up. When you listen, you can't make the Lord up, man. You can't make it. How about Shemal Shai up? You know. So Psalm 84 and 11 again. For the Lord power is a sun and a shield. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. And you see, those blessings are coming. You know, our cup is about to be overflowed. You know, just speaking as a man, because I don't know how this is gonna play out. Like I said, our minds can only go but so far. So how I picture this here, when I'm about to read in Isaiah. And again, I'm spiritually speaking. This is not literal, you know, but because like I just said, our cup is about to be overflowed with blessings, and spiritually speaking, so to say, you know, the only headache that we're gonna have is this right here. And again, I'm just speaking spiritually, you know, because we ain't gonna have no. You best believe we ain't gonna have no headaches. Jake ain't gonna have as much. Ain't gonna have so much of the sniffles, man. You know. You know, no migraines, no nothing. You know, just perfect bodies. You know, we got bodies waiting on us. You know, and that's what I'll be meditating on. You know, because I was making a point earlier about the women. You know, a lot of you women, you know, you reminisce, right? You oftentimes depressed. You complain, you know, as you so-called age, right? You know, because you often reminisce on when you had your youth. You know, when you were young, beautiful, right? You know, but hey, like I read earlier in Isaiah 61 about the good news, the good tidings. Hey, you women are going to get your youth back and then some. All right, because the kingdom is going to be beneficial for you too. All right, you know, right now, you know, this is your time to play. You know, this is your playground. The Lord has given everyone their opportunity. Like the scriptures say, how the Lord showed favor to the wicked. So he's even allowed Esau, a nation of people that he hates, give him the, you know, blessing of the earth, the fatness of the earth. And this is to a nation of people that he hates. And look at what Esau's got. You know, he's able to jet set. You know, at one point, you know, because the scriptures talk about how they are not in trouble as other men. And right now, you know, that's mainly talking about the elites. But at one point, you know, for the common Edomite was living good. You know, and that's how you judge a nation. You judge them by the commonwealth. So the average Edomite at one point was living good. They didn't have to, you know, because like I said, Jake is worrying about bills. You might be on vacation, take a trip to Disneyland or whatever. Like I said, in the back of your mind, you still worrying about bills. You still worrying about going back to work soon, and you know. But Esau at one point didn't have those worries. Esau wasn't tripping about bills. They could just, you know, kick their feet up and drink their bourbon or whatever, their whiskey, whatever it is that they drink. You know, talk shit about niggas. You know, Esau was living carefree at one point. And again, the Lord gave this to a nation of people that he hates, that he can't stand. So how much more to a nation of people that he loves? Again, the Lord is getting all this shit out the way early, within the first month of creation. All right, so that way we can enjoy living forever. Right? So like I was saying, you women, you're going to get your youth back and then some. All right, you've got bodies waiting on you too. You're gonna need it. All right, because when we get our bodies back, boy, when we get our status back, we get our rods back. You know, you woman, you gonna need spiritual power too. You know, matter of fact, let me grab this. Where is it at, man? Because you talk about being hung like a horse, right? Let me grab this in Exodus 20. I'm gonna start at 25. And if thou will make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Verse 26. Neither shalt thou go up by steps up unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. And why is that? Because, hey, Jake was hung like a horse. All right. Jake was hung like a horse, you know. Now, of course, we're dealing with the curses right now, you know. And hey, we gonna get that status back, man. You know. And you women, you're gonna need spiritual power too. You're gonna need them new bodies too to be able to even keep up with Jake. You know. Hey, your husband is gonna give you enough rod to last you a whole year. All right. That's why, you know, and when you trip about it now, but I promise you ain't gonna be tripping about it in the kingdom. As far as your husband having multiple wives and concubines, I promise you ain't gonna be tripping about it then. When you're in your right mind, you know, in those perfect bodies, you know, you women are gonna be in the state of like, damn, I can't believe I was tripping about that, you know, and actually bringing wives and concubines to your husband, believe it or not, you know. But you women are gonna benefit too, you know. Y'all gonna need that spiritual power too. Y'all gonna need them new bodies too to be able to hang with Jake, man. Because Jake, hey, brothers are gonna get their status back. You know, so hey, you know, this is what it is, man. You know, there's gonna be a lot of sex in the kingdom. All right, there's gonna be a lot of holy sex. Believe it or not. You know, we're just gonna continue to grow and grow to the point where the earth is not even going to be the earth is going to be too small for Jake, man. And that's why, like it tells in St. John 14, one of my favorite chapters to meditate on, how there's a kingdom being prepared. You know, they've over the years talked about how their universe is expanding, right? They're constantly discovering new planets and galaxies and things of that nature. Why do you think that is? You know, the Lord is, hey, man, you know, it's just, man, you know, beautiful to meditate on, man. You know, again, man, brothers got a lot to look forward to, man. You know, and don't be too focused on the zoomed in part. You know, you little bullshit 2-bedroom apartment, little bullshit job, bills. And I'm talking to myself too, you know. Like I said, man, the Lord is putting us through this now, within the first month of creation, getting all this bullshit out the way so that way we can enjoy the rest, you know, the rest of immortality, man, foreverness, you know. So Isaiah 60, because like I said, and I'm just spiritually speaking, because again, brothers ain't gonna have there ain't gonna be no such thing for Israelites. There's not gonna be a such thing as a headache, allergies, or nothing, you know. I'll say the only problem that brothers are going to have is this right here. Isaiah 60. Isaiah 60 in verse 5. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear, and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee, and the forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee. So, like I said, the only problem, the only issue, spiritually speaking, is the abundance of blessings that's going to be coming our way. It's like, damn, where am I going to put all this? You know, Jake, you know, get a little extra money in their paycheck, man, they get nervous. You know, Jake gets scared. Jake waking up on their day off, thinking that they're going off, thinking that they're tripping. You know, I'm talking about on this side, you know, because Jake is just so goddamn traumatized. Jake deals with PTSD. Jake dealing with anxiety, you know, and these are nothing but demons weighing us down. You know, we're fighting against his flesh. You know, Jake actually get a decent 8 hour sleep, man, and thinking that they going off. This is no way of living, man. This is no way to live. Here it is. Esau tells you, according to Esau's science, it tells you got to get at least 8 hours of sleep. And Jake get a good 8 hours of sleep, man, and thinking that they're going off. This is no way to live. This is not living. This is not life. This is not how it's supposed to be. You know, so like I just read, hey, we're gonna have so much coming to us, man. It's like, damn, where am I gonna put all this? That's the only problem that Jake is gonna have in the kingdom, man. Like, damn, you know, hey, put this on another planet, man. I don't have enough room for this. You know, these are the things that we meditate on. We should meditate on. This is again, you know, because you got to find something, man. That joy in your house, man. You got to find something, you know. And I pray the Lord that, you know, He continues to provide brothers' hopes, keep brothers' hope alive. Whether it's, you know, seeing 144, whatever the case may be, you know. The Lord knows how to, you know, keep our hopes alive, man. He knows how to just, you know, you see something, the Lord shows you something, and you just like, man, call Allah Yahweh Shema Shah. The Lord is dealing, because it's gonna be all right. You know, of course, it hurts because we're in a moment, like it tells in Hebrews 12. You know, let me grab it. I don't want to misquote it. Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12 in verse 11. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. So you see, because again, we're in the moment. It hurts. Yeah, we cry now. You know. But listen, I'm already at a point to where, and again, this is the point that I'm Lord trying to make. You gotta already be there. You know, I'm already to the point, like it tells in Romans 8, how our current sufferings aren't going to compare to the glory that's going to be revealed unto us. So I'm already, you know, I'd be already in the spiritual realm, just like, damn. If it makes sense, you know, I hope this makes sense, because I'm already in my mind, you know, in the new bodies, you know, with Yahweh Shai and those brothers, Lord willing. I'm on that number, you know. I'm already to that point where, you know, you can foreseeing it, you know. I'm already there, if it makes sense. If I'm making sense, I'm already there. And I'm already looking back. You know, it's hard to explain, but because like I said, we got new bodies waiting on us, you know. And I'm already in that new body, you know. And I'm already in, oftentimes when I'm meditating on it, you know, I'm already in that new body, right? And I'm already looking back now, you know, like right now, you know. I'm already in the future looking back right now, you know, if it makes sense, you know, because like I said, right now, you know, Jacob's going through it, you know, every now and then, yeah, you know, you got to cry, you got to let it out, whatever the case may be, you know. And I'm already in that new body in the future, looking back on these moments when, you know, like, damn, I can't believe I was tripping about that, you know, like, damn, you know, I call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai, you know, as well as the other brothers, man. You know, I'm already kicked up with the brothers, you know, with Yahweh Shai, having a, you know, a good time, you know, seeing Yahweh Shai at peace, you know. I'm already there. I'm already in the future. I'm already in those moments, you know, and that's how we got to think. Lord willing, that makes sense. But you know, that's how we got to think. That's how we got to be. We got to already be there. You know, I'm already looking back at myself like, damn, I can't believe I was tripping about that. You know, I was crying about that shit, man. You know, tripping about that car, man. Damn. You know, I'm already in the spiritual realm, man. You know, And that's a part of, for me, what keeps me going. It's what keeps my hope alive. It's a revival for me. Because like I said, being too zoomed in, being too in the moment, um, you know, and not staying focused on the bigger picture. If you let it, if you allow it, man, it can drown you out, you know. So more so be zoomed out rather than zoomed in. Now, of course, it's easier said than done. We're in a moment, like I just read in Hebrews 12:11 again. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. And we get small examples of that now, like, the Lord puts us through certain situations, or has put us through certain situations. We thought it was the worst case scenario. We were tripping. We was in a woe was me spirit. But then we look back in the future, or later on down the road, and you look back on those situations like, damn, I can't believe I was tripping about that, because of course it's easy. Like I said, it's easier said than done. You're in the moment. When you're in the moment, you're all over the place. It seems like the worst day, but when the Lord delivers you, and you often tend to look back on those situations, it's like, damn, I can't believe I was tripping about that. It wasn't even a big deal, right? That's what I'm talking about when, like I said, I'm already in that new body, looking back on this situation right now, even though I'm in the moment right now, I'm already at that point where it's like, I'm just like, damn, like, yeah, we were really tripping about the, hey, talking to the next brother. You remember you was tripping about that bitch, man? It's like, man, I can't believe I was tripping about that bitch. I can't believe I was tripping about that job, bro. Man, this is, like I said, for me, what keeps me, my hope alive. It brings me to peace, man. And you got to find your peace. You got to find your joy in your Hawashai. You can't let the entanglements of this world entangle you to the point where, you can't get out, and, you're too far gone. Your brother's got a lot to look forward to, Brother's got a lot to look forward to. And this shit is almost over, But again, man, definitely find your joy. Find your peace. You gotta find your balance. Or this world will overtake you. This world has a real succubus spirit. That's why, like I said earlier, I read earlier, man, it's really the spirit of the Lord that's keeping us alive, rejuvenating us every single day. Because we are in the wilderness, spiritual wilderness. So like I said, I mean, this word is like that cold glass of water in the middle of the desert. That spiritual rejuvenation. You got to visit your physical, Slaki. You got to visit your spiritual pharmacist. And I just say that because, like the apostle always says, keep your medicine strong. All right. And what is our medicine? Prayer. As well as fasting. Meditate. Yeah, man. That's pretty much it. Just another edition of Chatting with the Church. I hope this has been comforting and exhorting and uplifting. Yahweh Shemal Shai is rooting for us. All right, we're rooting for each other, but hey, the King himself is rooting for us, man. Like I said, he's not with us physically, but he's here with us in the spirit. All right, we got our brothers in the spiritual realm. They're cheering for us. They're rooting for us. Matter of fact, since I'm here in Hebrews, I'm gonna read verse 1, Hebrews 12:1. It says, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doeth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So you see that great cloud of witnesses. All right. As I always say, not only are we cheering for each other, but the saints in the spiritual realm, they're cheering for us. Our brothers in the spiritual realm, they're cheering for us. Yahweh Shah himself, he's cheering for us. All right. Yahweh Shah is right here with us suffering. And I always say, no one wants it more than the Lord himself. No one wants it more than the Lord himself. So, is the Lord not going to perform that which he said he was going to do? Right? Again, no one wants it more than the Lord himself. I'm going to grab this, and then I will close. This is Wisdom of Solomon. And like I just said in Hebrews 12, run this race with patience. Patience is already hard. It's always the hard part, man. The Lord already has the details worked out for us. That's why I said, man, we're gonna be all right, man. The Lord's gonna take care of us. In fact, we already had the victory. Like I quoted, the crown, it's already been fronted to us. We just gotta hold on to it. Patience is always the hard part, man. Actually going through it is, that's just being in the moment. That's the hard part. It's just the patience part. Wisdom of Solomon 5. Wisdom of Solomon 5 and 15. But the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. So, again, man, because we're not doing this for no reason. And, you got to remind yourself, man, this ain't for no reason, man. This ain't for no reason. We're not beating the air. We're not doing this in vain. This ain't for no reason. And that's why, again, you got to find that joy. We have a lively hope. All right. Verse 16. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom. So you see, man, it's our time. Like I mentioned earlier, the nations, they had their time. Esau, he's had his time. Eve, she's had her time. She's still in her time. All right. Like I said, man, the Lord, he's getting all this bullshit out the way now, so that way we can enjoy eternity. All right. Within the first month of creation, the Lord is getting all this shit out the way early, so we can enjoy the rest of foreverness. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand. For his right hand shall cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them. So you see, we're about to be in the presence of the King. Yahweh Shah's getting ready to do big on the behalf of his elect, man. He's getting ready to show up and show out for his elect. All right. Like I said, that long distance relationship, man, and then the day that, every day that gets closer to that meet date, when, when y'all getting ready to meet, man, it's just, feelings, anxiety, you're burning, this shit hurts because it's like, oh, so close, but so far until the day that y'all actually meet, right? But hey, man, Yahweh Shah, he's getting ready to, we're getting ready to be with the King. He's Lord willing, he's getting ready to crown us. All right. He's getting ready to crown us. We're getting ready to be with the King. The long awaited, the long awaited arrival, and that's why it hurts. That's why it hurts, because we can feel his presence. And it's surreal. More and more it's surreal. Because like, damn, we're really about to be with the King. Really about to be a change to that first estate, man. Really about to be with the King. And more and more it's just getting surreal. But Lord willing, this was edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Shemal Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect. Hava thumb to the church.